Don Vito, the rise and fall of Vito Genovese. Arriving in Italy in the late 1930s, Genovese re-established himself with typical cunning. He had left America a wanted murderer, but in Benito Mussolini's fascist Italy, Genovese saw a chance to reinvent his fortune. Ever opportunistic, he ingratiated himself with Mussolini's regime, even befriending the dictator's son-in-law, foreign minister, Count Galeazzo Ciano. Genovese courted favor by donating $250,000 for the construction of a new fascist party headquarters, an astronomical sum that bought him goodwill at the highest levels of power. The payoff was significant. Mussolini's government, pleased with this Italian-American mobster's generosity, awarded Genovese the title Commendatore del Re, one of the highest civilian honors in Italy. Behind the smiles and handshakes, however, Genovese remained the same cold-hearted schemer. By early 1943, with World War II raging, he proved his loyalty to Il Duce in the most violent way. According to FBI reports, Genovese arranged the assassination of Carlo Tresca, a crusading anti-fascist newspaper editor in New York. Tresca was gunned down on a Manhattan street in January 1943, silencing a vocal critic of Mussolini's regime, a favor that undoubtedly pleased the Duce. Genovese's influence now extended back to New York, even while he sat in Italy, demonstrating his far-reaching power. Yet, it would be a mistake to think Genovese was ideologically devoted to fascism. In truth, he was as apolitical as he was amoral, a chameleon who aligned with any side that benefited him. One U.S. Naval Intelligence report noted that Genovese had a reputation for double-crossing friends with impunity. He saw Mussolini simply as a means to an end, protection from extradition, and a license to run lucrative black market rackets under the cover of the regime. Indeed, during the war, Genovese dabbled in stealing and selling army supplies on the Italian black market, enriching himself amid the chaos. When Mussolini's power began to crumble as Allied forces invaded Italy, Genovese once again shifted with the political winds. In 1944, as the Allies occupied southern Italy, Genovese brazenly offered his services to the U.S. Army, presenting himself as a useful liaison in the occupied territory. But this time, his ploy failed. In August 1944, U.S. military police arrested Genovese in Naples as they uncovered his involvement in a massive theft ring siphoning off U.S. Army supplies. During the investigation, an American CID officer discovered Genovese was also a fugitive, wanted back in New York for murder. Genovese's past had finally caught up to him. After years of evading justice, he was shipped back to the United States in 1945 to stand trial for the Boccia killing. Back in New York, Genovese faced a murder trial that could have ended with him in the electric chair. But the mob boss had not survived this long without a talent for wriggling free. While he sat in jail awaiting trial, witnesses against him conveniently disappeared. One by one, key witnesses either turned up dead or refused to testify. A hitman turned informant, Peter Latempa, died mysteriously in protective custody, reportedly poisoned with cyanide. Another potential witness, Jerry Esposito, was found shot to death on a New Jersey roadside. With only Ernest Rupolo's word, and no one left alive to corroborate the story, the case against Genovese collapsed. In June 1946, the charges were dismissed. A judge remarked that if even a shred of evidence had supported Rupolo's testimony, Genovese would have been condemned to death. But luck, or lethal influence, was on Vito's side. He walked out of court a free man. By the mid-1940s, the landscape of the New York Mafia had shifted. Lucky Luciano had been deported to Italy after the war, and Genovese's old ally, Frank Costello, had become the acting boss of their crime family. Upon regaining his freedom, Genovese rejoined Costello at the helm of what was still called the Luciano crime family. On the surface, Genovese played the dutiful underling once again. Behind the scenes, though, he was maneuvering to seize absolute control. He leveraged his connections from Italy and the chaos of post-war Europe to dive into a new racket that would make him richer and more feared than ever: trafficking. Genovese had no qualms about the narcotics trade, a business some older mafia bosses avoided for fear it would bring federal heat. In fact, along with Luciano, who was coordinating from exile, Genovese expanded the trade to an international level. Using pipelines from European sources and Sicilian smugglers, he helped flood America with opiates in the late 1940s and 1950s. Millions of dollars poured into the mob's coffers. Genovese grew ever more powerful, buoyed by the dirty money of the post-war drug racket. By the mid-1950s, he was arguably the most dangerous and influential mobster in New York. Yet he still hungered for the one thing he did not have: the title of boss. Frank Costello, known as the Prime Minister of the Underworld for his political influence, stood in Genovese's way. Costello had been a clever, diplomatic leader, focusing on gambling and corruption rather than violence. But Genovese had no use for Costello's softer style or his claim on the top spot. After years of tension, Vito made his move in 1957. On the evening of May 2nd, as Costello returned to the lobby of his Central Park West apartment building, an assassin stepped from the shadows. The gunman, a Genovese loyalist named Vincent Chin Gigante, fired a single shot at Costello's head. The bullet grazed Costello's scalp, narrowly missing a fatal mark. Costello survived the attempted hit, but it delivered Genovese's message loud and clear. In the aftermath, the shaken Costello decided to retire and relinquish power rather than risk another attack. Ever the pragmatist, Costello even claimed he couldn't identify his assailant, resulting in Gigante's acquittal the next year. The path was now clear. Vito Genovese took the throne as boss of the family. Genovese was not satisfied with merely leading his own family. He wanted to dominate all of organized crime. To do that, he needed to control the commission, the ruling council of the mafia. One man still posed a threat to that ultimate power: Albert Anastasia, the fearsome boss of the Anastasia, later Gambino family, and a commission member. Anastasia was a legendary killer, the so-called Lord High Executioner of Murder, Inc. But Genovese viewed him as an obstacle and an old-school holdover. In autumn 1957, Genovese and his ally Carlo Gambino plotted a daring assassination. On a calm morning in October, Anastasia entered the barber shop of Manhattan's Park Sheraton Hotel for his regular shave. As he relaxed in the chair, two gunmen rushed in. Anastasia barely had time to open his eyes before a hail of bullets cut him down in a spray of glass and blood. The powerful mob boss was slain on the spot. Genovese's secret machinations had removed yet another rival. With Costello sidelined and Anastasia buried, Genovese believed his moment had arrived.